The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. A fabulous show we have in store for you, viewers and listeners. I love the topics that we have this week. I love the guests that we have this week. One of our favorite guests that we have around here at Break the Business, Bill Down Upright Bolden, is joining us. Bill has been a mainstay on this program. We have had Bill on the show too many times to count, and every time they bring it, because Bill gives us a lot of awesome things. In addition to being a terrific electropop artist, producer, DJ, also an accomplished entrepreneur, knows a lot about how to get startups off the ground, both entertainment tech startups, but also just startups generally, advises startup companies, works with tech stars to help people build companies, and so has a lot to say for you indie artist entrepreneurs out there. A lot of great advice that's going to come from Bill. And Bill's going to be talking about their latest Kickstarter, because one of the things that Bill does so well is coming up with these really interesting, innovative Kickstarter campaigns that are almost works of art in their own way. Like, instead of a Kickstarter just being this thing where you help a person make a work of art by helping fund it through Kickstarter, Bill actually kind of turns Kickstarter into an art form in and of itself, coming up with innovative ways to allow their backers to participate in the creation of these really cool, interesting works of art that Bill does. So we're going to talk to him all about that. Every time Bill comes on, it is worth having a discussion. Whenever Bill tells me, hey, Ryan, I got some cool project going on, can you make space for me on your show? The answer is always yes. Even if I have other guests, I will move them aside to make sure we have room for Bill. And folks, we got some great guests coming up in the next few weeks on Break the Business. I want to let you know how much it means to me to have Bill Bolden on this show by some of the other guests that we have around Bill Bolden, all right? No kidding. In the next few weeks on this show, we have as the guest, you know that TikToker that does that thing where he pretends he's a cat and goes meow, 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 and knocks the glass off the counter, and his girlfriend's like, oh, why'd you do that? Yeah, that guy, he's going to be on Break the Business, but we've moved him to another week so that we can have Bill Bolden this week. As Bill Bolden, always welcome here. That's how excited I am to talk to Bill. Also excited to talk with our co-host, who we have not had on in a while because I canceled a bunch of shows over the holidays, but now we're back in business with our co-host, Elisa Rockdock. Hi, Elisa.
Hello! Good to be back, y'all.
Good to be chatting with you. When I speak of the TikToker who goes meow, 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 and like knocks the mug off the counter and pretending he's a cat, and the girlfriend gets upset, do you know what I'm talking about there? Does that resonate with you?
My algo, rest in peace, because I deleted that app before accepting the new terms and conditions. RIP my algo. He I don't think he would have shown up on my algo. But
Despite being a cat person.
Despite being a cat person, I think according to TikTok, I was more of a like sports drag, like sports and drag, which also means wrestling. So that also makes sense.
That's gotta be a pretty fun algo.
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa, I want to talk to you about a few things before we get into the stories this week. But first, I'd like to unveil a new segment on Break the Business that I call Ryan Says Things That Will Elicit No Sympathy from Elisa Rockdock. All right, we're going to debut this new segment. Again, it's called Ryan Says Things That Will Elicit No Sympathy from Elisa Rockdock. Here we go. You know, it's going to get a little chilly in South Florida this weekend. Little chilly. The mercury dropping in South Florida this weekend.
Okay.
You know what they're saying? 31 in South Florida this weekend. Just brr.
Wow.
I'm telling you. I mean,
Wow.
like we actually have to turn our heaters on down here, Lisa. You know those heaters that we have in South Florida that you turn them on and then your car and your house like smells like burnt toast for 3 weeks.
Ay
Like
bendito.
we got to turn those on, and so
baby.
naturally you must be feeling lots of sympathy where you are in Dallas.
No, we didn't experience a feels like for the first time in the negatives in Dallas, Fort freaking Worth, man. Dude, the roads finally melted today after like almost a week of below freezing temperatures and stuff. The roads finally melted. It wasn't even fun enough to like make a snow person or anything. It was hard packed ice and snow. So like it did like no fun whatsoever.
Yeah,
Good musical progress being snowed in. But
I mean, you're stuck at home. It's hurting the wildlife in Texas. I've already heard that the Ted Cruz has begun his migration away from Texas because he cannot handle the cold climates, and he does this every few years when like the temperatures get so bad in Texas that he has to fly south. That poor plump little bird cannot handle.
Bless him. Yeah, he's our very own Punxsutawney Theodore. He as soon as I see a picture of him on a flight, I'm like, well, all right, let's see. Time to buy some eggs and some toilet paper and start dripping the faucets. And I have a heating pad on my lap right now. I'm wearing a scarf in my own apartment.
Wait,
Ryan.
I love this. I love this idea of Ted Cruz being like the barometer of really bad weather. Like what do they say in South Florida, right? Like the hurricane's not bad unless like Waffle House closes.
Right.
If
Or
Waffle House
Cantori
closes,
shows
we
up.
know it's bad.
Yeah.
The storm is going to be really, really bad. Ted Cruz is like your Waffle House.
Uh-huh.
If he flees the state like a big fat coward, you know that this is going to be like a really terrible weather phenomenon.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. There was a carport that just got nailed under the weight of the snow, and thankfully nobody was parked underneath it or anything.
Goodness.
But yeah, everything, all of our places of business, all of our gigs canceled. Things are just starting to open up. I think the schools were still closed today. Of course, my therapist is in Connecticut and Bill, I think, is in Buffalo. So like I have any room to talk, but we don't do well in Dallas in these conditions. Nobody does. We don't do well when it rains, much less when it even hints of ice. So glad it's almost over.
Yes. And speaking of hurricanes, I have not had a chance to talk to you about this yet.
I can't.
The hurricanes, Miami Hurricanes, they
It's
broke
still
our
too
heart.
fresh.
They broke our heart, Rock Doc. They broke them real bad.
It's still too raw. I'm still too fresh. I can't.
I
was hoping
mean,
that we weren't going to talk about that today.
no, it's still hurting me because I was there. I was there.
How?
Believe me, I had neither the financial nor the marital capital to obtain those tickets, but our friend Josh had a ticket connection and we were able to go to the game. And I was 28 rows up from watching Fernando Mendoza leap across the goal line. And, for somebody who grew up down here, he really just hurt this city's feelings.
Right to Columbus.
Oh my God. And, I don't care what happens to Fernando Mendoza for the rest of his life. I don't care how many Super Bowls he wins. I can't imagine he's ever going to feel better than he felt standing in the middle of that stadium, which by the way was 80% Indiana fans. We did not show up for our own home game. And all of them are singing Fernando to him. They were serenading him, Fernando, a crowd of 50,000 Hoosiers singing that ABBA song. I can't imagine anybody has ever forget about the happiest moment of his life. Nobody has ever felt happier generally than he must have felt in that moment. Also, I'm pretty sure nobody in the state of Indiana actually knows the lyrics to Fernando by ABBA because it was if you listen to the crowd, you just hear Fernando. Think there's a liberty in there, Fernando.
Oh, bless. Despite it's weird. I mean, I felt like the community, as far as I was, listening, was kind of torn because Fernando, good Cuban boy from Columbus, probably gonna be number one pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Like representing. And so it's sort of like, if you're a Flannies, do you feed Fernando well? Do you bar him? Like I was sort of like, maybe it depends on the location. Maybe he's good at the Coconut Grove one, but
yeah. But don't go to like the West Kendall one. No, you not welcome. Bird Road, maybe it's closer to Columbus. Yeah, 50, even split. But
all right, Belen, time to step up.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see a football legend from that school anytime soon. So anyway, but good. Glad we caught up on those things. I made it a point, Rock Doc, to, and we are going to get your career update as well. I'm sure we have lots to update because it's been a bit, but I made it a point, Elisa, to curate for you what I think were some good Elisa stories this week. The stuff that kind of would appeal to the sociologist in you. Interesting article that came out of the Fanbase Builder blog about live shows. To make the most out of your live shows, artists should do more than just play their songs. They should try to create moments for collective experience for their fans. Or so says Carlo Kixon of the Fanbase Builder blog. According to Kixon, the key to a memorable concert is to provide moments of, quote, collective effervescence, a concept from sociology, going into your line of work here, where shared rituals create a powerful sense of belonging. Think Freddie Mercury's call and response at Live Aid, or fans singing the chorus to Wonderwall, or 50,000 fans singing Fernando at the national championship game and breaking Ryan's heart. Whatever, collective effervescence you can think of. Or things like, synchronized jumping or holding up your phones at the same time. Even having your crowd chant something together. As Emil Durkheim, the sociologist who coined the term, puts it, quote, when people perform synchronized actions, the boundaries of self fade away. The group is uplifted by a force greater than the sum of its parts. If this kind of sounds like church, yeah, there's a reason why churches do that sort of stuff. It's effective as a live experience. Synchronized actions creating a collective sense of belonging. I'm with the writer on this. I think a lot of, especially early career artists who are just starting to get their feet wet in the live shows, they just think of the live shows as, let me just play the songs and leave.
Right.
Which, kind of makes the experience of being in the venue no different than if you were just watching a YouTube video of it, right? If you're going to bring the live show in, if you're going to do the live show, as the blog writer writes, you have to have those collective effervescence moments. Find time during the show to give the fans a reason to all do something together, so you get that like feeling of unity that makes a live show not like anything else in music.
There is a reason why some of the earliest theater performances were actually temple rituals. There's a reason why a church and a theater and a live show venue kind of look the same. There is a space where you walk in through a door and you are a different person in that space, having this collective experience with everyone, and then you emerge from that space a completely different person. It is a magic ritual. It is not woo-woo. It is proven by sociological and social science. It is a very, very important part, I think, of taking your product from a live performance to a whole show. And I think it is important to think about yourself. And maybe it feels a little weird. Like for me, I hear that and I'm like, it feels, like sometimes the imposter syndrome can pop up and like, I don't feel important enough, or like, I feel like I'm at the stage to lead like,
I can't do a call and response. Who am I?
Yeah, who am I to go to like that's not me. Like I haven't, people haven't learned my lyrics enough to be able to like do XYZ. You got to start somewhere. And I think even just taking like, just kind of like a cool moment, maybe like right before a solo or right before a last chorus, to just kind of start a clap.
Yep.
Start a clap into the last chorus, break it down to drums, and then, you know, maybe repeat like the kind of key hook lines. And that's kind of a way to like stick them in there, but it's also a way to make people feel like they are part of the actual show. And that is literal community building. I even think that that could extend to even moments like Twitch. If you're doing kind of digital live shows, I think the use of things like a shared emote, you know, make sure you have like a lighter emote available, or like things that people can type in the chat as a collective to also kind of cheat that moment together. But I think that is extremely important. And I think creating those moments and thinking intentionally about those moments is definitely a step to making just like, oh, I'm just going to like perform a set of these tunes into a full-on performance. And I think you deserve to take your show seriously by adding those moments in. And if, man, and when those moments hit, when they work and you're on stage, that feeling of getting an entire crowd to all do something together, that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
And so your own experience and your own study in this would suggest that collective effervescence, you know, for the people, for the artists who are thinking about doing something like this, but they don't think that they can do anything elaborate, you can still get these collective effervescence moments with simple stuff, like everybody clapping their hands together. Like, I mean, if you don't think that you're going to be able to like get a whole crowd of people to like do some elaborate thing with your song because they don't know your song yet, even like simple stuff works.
Yeah. Yep. Break it down to the drums, lead a hand clap. If there's just like, you know, one line that often gets repeated, you know, have them call it back. I know that one of the coolest moments that like a Wolfpack or Jacob Collier is of course famous for doing this kind of thing, is making the audience sing in 3-part harmony.
Yes. I love those.
It's and you don't have to get that silly. It could even be something as like leaving a little bit of room between when some of the band members get on and when the lead vocalist gets on. Build that anticipation and get people to kind of like lead a chant. It could even be something where it's like Sabrina Carpenter has this thing that she does at the end of one of her songs where she makes a hyper localized rhyme reference as part of like the outro. And I think she was doing a show in like Boston or something, and it's like, you know, you say I'm a homo if the shoe fits. I only park my car in Massachusetts. And then you say name of city. That is the easiest way for a wrestler to get a pop, you know? Go borrow that, you know? Yeah. What is up? Name of town. Make highly like localized references. Do your research. And it's those like little kind of personal touches that I think can really help to kind of build your lore and build something within a community that then makes that community an in-group that feels like they're in the know about something when they chant the thing. And other people learn from that. And it's sort of like, yeah, I knew about the thing before everybody else did.
I like that. So collective effervescence isn't just a tool for making your live shows more engaging, but it's also a tool for, you know, cultivating your fan base and creating a stronger connection with your fans. Because when you know, through those moments, you create an in-group amongst the fan base, you know, because they know that they get the references and the inside jokes and things like that. And I love what you brought up earlier about some of the artists who are masters of this and can actually have their audience participating in the piece of music that they're making. You know, you talked about there are artists who will get their fans singing in 3-part harmony. One of my favorite live albums is the Ben Folds, Ben Folds Live, it's called, haha, like Ben Folds 5. And he's, you know, it's just him and a piano. And for most of Ben Folds' songs, that's all Ben Folds needs. But on the album, he was playing his song Army, which has a rather notable horn part in the beginning. And so he, like, you know, the song on the live album starts with Ben Folds going like, hey, so I know y'all like the song and I don't have trumpets, so y'all are going to be my trumpets. And he like breaks the audience in half, and like one half does like the one trumpet part and the other half does the other trumpet part. And they get so into it, and it sounds amazing. And I'm sure the fans that were there like talk about how they were the trumpet in Army, and you can hear them on the live album. And you know, that's the kind of stuff that just can make a live show so much more special, and it, you know, it creates that, you know, really cool sticky connection and everything. And wasn't there like a famous YouTube video recently? This, I still don't know how this video happened, by the way. Like, I would love a music person to explain to me how this was possible. Have you ever seen the video of this woman who's like on, I think it was on America's Got Talent, where she gets this crowd of people to sing a 3-part harmony version of Africa by Toto?
Oh, wow.
Where like one group is going like do 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 do, and then the other one's singing like the lyrics, but like they've never rehearsed it, right? Because it's just the crowd there. But I guess because of just how well she kind of like holds her arms up and down to get them to sing at the right pitch, they can just do it, even though like these are not singers, professional singers in the audience. They're just regular people. But because of the power of collective effervescence and how skillful this woman was at commanding the crowd, she instantly turned them into a choir that could do a perfect 3-part version of Africa. I mean, and so I guess I encourage people to go check out this video.
And
if you
Bobby
type in
McFerrin
like,
is famous for doing that too.
yeah,
That
one's wild.
Yeah. I would highly suggest it. It's not, you know, this is me sort of like, you know, beating back the imposter syndrome in my head. It's not frivolous. It's not thinking too much of yourself that you're going to be like, I'm going to write in a part in my set where like I lead people on this thing. That is just taking yourself seriously as an artist and treating your performance as a holistic show. And I think that kind of stuff is important. And as somebody who's been to, you know, their fair share of concerts and has performed at them, sporting events, you know, even like the thing where people like yell different things during the national anthem, depending on what hockey team you're on. So being a part of a bigger moment is very important. I would suggest it's something that is very much needed in society today, is to all get together as a collective and feel effervescent and bubbly together in various places. And it's just a really cool way for you to give your fans a really, really awesome, unique experience. It is one of the coolest parts of a live show that you just can't get from watching a live set on YouTube. Yeah, it's great. Go watch live music. Go support your local artists.
Yeah, that's really the moral of this story here is let's go out and support live music. I got a quick pop culture article here for you, Lisa, before we get into your career update. Recently in his Stat Significant blog, Daniel Paris dug into the data to try to answer an interesting music question.
Yes.
Are artists more likely to peak with their debut album? And the answer, at least according to his analysis, is kind of. Paris reviewed a data set of album reviews and found that, yes, most artists get their highest critical acclaim on their first record. According to the analysis, Metacritic scores of a artist's albums typically drop after album number 1 and don't stabilize till around album number 5, if artists even get that far. But here, I think, is the interesting twist of that article. While the data does suggest that first albums for most artists tend to have the strongest splash, the true masterpieces come later. When analyzing Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time, Paris found that 78% of those top 500 albums were not debut records. So that's interesting. Most artists peak with their debut album, but the very, very best albums usually are not the first installment of an artist's work. But what explains why so many artists peak early? Well, there's the adage, of course, that you spend your whole life making your first album, you spend 1 year making your second. or just the idea that fans get like really attached to that first art album you make because it's their first way of getting acquainted with you. But as Paris writes at the end of article, maybe the lesson here to avoid your second album trap or your sophomore slump is to keep making debut albums or keep reinventing your sound along the way so that it stays novel. I thought this was interesting. It's always been something I've suspected about albums. I mean, most of the time, like I tend to like artists' first album the most, with some exceptions, of course. But it's interesting to see that there's data that kind of suggests that there might be something to this.
It's interesting because it also depends on, there's so many factors that, you know, especially like sociologically, I'm like, there's so many correlation, non-causational things, ice cream and drowning deaths in the summer kind of vibes happening here. Where I'm like, I'm wondering like how much marketing, what kind of marketing, what kind of genres were these? What was the gender and racial breakdown of some of these artists and like the time periods in which they popped up? Was there significant like music video support? Like there's so many questions I have, but what it does,
I would love for this to just be record labels' fault. Yes, let's make that the confounding variable.
Yeah, then there's just the idea of like what this says to me is so much of talent and critical acclaim just happens to people who are willing to beat their head against the wall the longest without giving up. It's it's writing through all of the other albums worth of material to get to that masterpiece eventually. It's fascinating because there is that idea of like that sophomore slump that, you know, the sequel is never better than the original with some exceptions. You know, you're trying to Empire Strikes Back and sometimes you end up, well, I almost said Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, but no, that is a perfect movie. It's funny because then you're trying to like grasp at straws, trying to replicate what happened on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not coming from, oh, this is like my genuine sort of like this is the thing that I need to say. Otherwise, I'm going to rip myself in half. This is more like, how do I do that again? And I think people,
or a record label saying, how do you do that again?
Yeah, how do you do that again? Which is definitely like not a fun reason to make music. And I imagine is probably why like people tend to get burned out because they're like, oh, I'm stuck having to make however many extra records because I'm under this contract and I have to just sort of like write enough to get these things out. It's fascinating how that works, and I'm kind of interested in seeing how that breaks down now that there are kind of more independent releases and kind of away from this kind of like static record label model. It's also just like when you find music, right? Because it's like I'm in love with Nimrod from Green Day, and that's not the critically acclaimed album Dookie was. Sometimes it's just like when you tend to find an album and how that hits and where that hits. But I think the lesson here is like be patient and write through your bad stuff because it'll come eventually, allegedly. If you can have the stamina.
No, I like the lesson being the first thing you said, that this is labels' faults.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, there's something to this, right? Like that first album is usually made before the label shows up. You know, it gets made with creative freedom, you in the garage with your buddies before life gets complicated. And then the second album is usually made under a label contract when your label's already bought your first album and given you very little in return for it. And now you're under tremendous pressure. You're under the microscope. The label is micromanaging you, telling you what to write, when to write, you know, telling you, I don't hear a single, you know, do it again. And yeah, so naturally every album after that could potentially suffer a little bit. I think when we have more time, I eventually I want to kind of explore that second piece, which is how do the very, very, very best albums seem to escape this? Like, generally for albums, the study suggests that like you tend to peak with the debut, but the very best albums that we've ever made are usually not debut albums, at least according to this analysis. And I'm wondering what might explain that there. That's pretty interesting. Let's save that question for Bill. Bill knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. Would be interested in their perspective on that. But before we go to break, can we get a Elisa Rockstar career update? We love keeping tabs on the amazing things you're doing as a musician, as an actress, voiceover. What's going on?
Super exciting. Well, of course, as usual, after I jump off the show, I immediately have to record like 3 auditions in 2 languages. But it's been really, really fun lately. I have video game VO booked in the next couple of weeks. I did a PSA a few weeks ago. I'm auditioning for a singing role in an indie film. So it's like the auditions are fun, and it's starting to feel like the auditions are like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh, I had the wonderful experience that I hope everybody else gets to have one day, that when they audition for something and there is a link to a reference of this is what we would like this character to sound like, and then you click that reference link and it's your voice.
Whoa. Whoa.
That is going to sustain me for the year.
Like, you should have listened to that during the audition and been like, I can't compete with that. That chick's too talented.
No.
You should just hire her.
Honestly, I'm like, I don't know if I can pull that off, but we'll try. So fun things in that world. Very, very excited to kind of keep putting this voice and face to use as much as they want me. But in fun Crimson Echoes news, while we were snowed in, because we had not a lot of choice, and thankfully I get to be snowed in with my guitar player. So we spent a lot of time working on the guitar solo for our new single called Linger, which should hopefully be out in the next couple of months.
She glances over at her piano, her guitar player.
Hold me to that. Yeah. But yeah. So usually the guitar solo is kind of like the second to last thing to happen to a song before it goes into mixing and everything. So that means that we're really, really close to the next single. So super stoked.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Oh, it's I want to go back to something you said earlier about how you are noticing that the auditions are kind of addressing you more directly, or you feel like they're like playing to your strengths more directly. What's accounting for that? Like, just that you're out there enough that like your agent can, find more things that are like direct for you, or like you're out there enough that like people who might want your services know that you could potentially do this stuff. So you're getting more stuff that's suited for you. What's accounting for that?
It's kind of like a little bit of column A, little bit of column B. I think it's a lot of like making sure that the marketing materials and the way that I've set up my resume and the way that I've set up my special skills, listing bowling as a special skill, which it is. I've had to use that in an audition. Listing my special skills in such a way and being like, I think maybe even just kind of honest on the size card, being honest with my headshots and like, yep, this is what I look like. This is what you're getting. Putting up clips of stuff that I've already done. Thankfully, work begets work, because when you have proof of the things you can do, people can be like, yep, I wanted to do that. So getting more kind of repeat clients has been nice, because it's sort of like, we know her, we know how she works, we like working with her. So that is always a good sign to be a good hang at the gig so that you get called back, because oftentimes that is just as important as how talented you are. But I think it's being honest, turning down things if for whatever reason you're not feeling it, and being okay with that. And I feel like that has definitely helped dial me in, especially like with my agents, so that I'm getting stuff that absolutely thrills me. And it's my agents knowing me a lot more too, that they can be like, as soon as they see something come through, they could be like, oh yeah, Elisa would totally nail this. Let's see what's up. Yeah.
Without necessarily putting their name out there, because I don't know if like that's something you want to do, but like, have you, has this been like the same agent this whole time?
Yeah. So
that's kind of a great success story.
I've been with them for, I think, since 2022. So this would hopefully be my fourth. This is coming up on my fourth year now with them. And yeah, the contract renews every year, and I'm always happy to get that email in June whenever they're like, we would love to continue working with you. I'm like, yes, thank you. So it's been lovely. I feel very lucky and very blessed to have an agent feeding me all of these wonderful things and wonderful chances to play, anything from doing really important public service announcements in English and in Spanish and reminding people to vote and all of that stuff to I don't know, being random crowd person number 6 in One Piece. Like I love it. I'm so happy.
We're thrilled for you. Okay, let us take a quick break. We're going to be joined by Bill, down, upright, bold, and don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2 here on Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. You know what the worst thing is about Fernando Mendoza beating us in that national championship game? Is that he's so damn nice.
He's on LinkedIn by choice.
Of course he is. And I think he has no other social media, right? But he's just this very sweet, just
everybody loves him.
Young, right? And so like you almost think that like if he could, he'd like be willing to share the trophy with us, just because he's such a sweetheart. And as a sports fan, that makes me so irrationally angry because like I need to hate you and I need you to hate me, you jerk.
No. And it's like, dang it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Elisa Rockdock. We're having a grand old time. Let us bring in our guest this week. Yes. Our guest is a Buffalo-based electro-pop artist, producer, and entrepreneur. Their latest Kickstarter campaign is for Don't You Put Words in My Mouth, an audience involvement crowdfunding campaign where backers get to supply actual words that our guest will use on their next album. You can check out our guest campaign by searching Down Upright on Kickstarter. We are happy to welcome back our friend Bill Down Upright Bolden onto Break the Business. Hi, Bill.
Hello, friends. Thank you again for having me once more. It's always good to be back on the cast. I see, Elisa, we are similarly skeletoned up.
Yes. I figure if everybody's throwing it back to 2016, I might as well bring the like infinity scarf back, the hipster infinity scarf back.
Bill, whenever you have anything going on, you know that we like throw every guest to the side to make sure that we can talk to you about it. Because you always have these really interesting, often crowdfunding based art projects that are just so cool to talk about, and they just inspire us, and they often make us laugh or make us think. And so before we talk about your latest campaign, for the uninitiated, can you run us through some of your prior efforts so that people get an idea of exactly what you bring to the table with your art?
Yeah, sure. This is my fourth attempt to make something that is bigger than an album, right? There's a long tradition, I think possibly going back to, I want to say, people can correct me if you have stuff even earlier than this, but Nine Inch Nails Year Zero with its micro USB drives and alternate history, and the Gorillas pioneering the all virtual fictitious band. There's something in a world where, and I don't think anyone who listens to this cast regularly needs to hear me say this, where things are just getting worse all the time in terms of music being music. If it's a track, if what you're trying to do is sell a track, that's something you put into your CD changer or, load up on your Spotify, and it's going to play for a person and then finish, you are starting from pretty far behind. The bros, the tech, the scammers, both bottom-up scammers who are cloning you and ripping you off with AI, as well as top-down scammers who run giant multinational corporations that won't be named, who use AI to take it all from you. They're all ahead of you, right? And so I've always found that as music continues to become more and more fungible, experiences aren't. And so first in 2015 was Music to Die Alone in Space 2. It was an album that I re-recorded for every person who purchased it. So I sold 310 copies of that album. All 310 are different. 2017 to 2018, Pieces, a similar Everyone Gets Their Own Copy album, but it was interspersed with Godspeed You Black Emperor, like cassette tapes and environmental storytelling, like in almost, you pick up the ruins from the wasteland kind of way. And the whole story of why the world is post-apocalyptic can only be derived from different copies, because I had about 8 hours of audio source material that was spread across all those copies. Then most recently in 2022, We're Doomed, We're Dancing, which I like to think of as my magnum opus, prominently features a certain Elisa in the middle of the first half. That was for 60 one-minute songs in 60 genres in 60 minutes, and backers chose and voted on the genres I would have to do. And not only did I finish that, which is insane, it took me 2+ years and much more money than I raised from the Kickstarter. At one point, when people voted on all the stuff, and one of them was that I had to write a chorale, I hired a choir. I just I needed to deliver. And so the magic and what makes that work at the end is when you listen to it, and it's like, left to my own devices, I would not have chosen rockabilly next to opera, K-pop next to scooter Eurotrash dance, fish imitating jam band next to like Linkin Park sound alike. But then you listen to it and you're like, whoa, crazy, right? And so that brings me to my fourth attempt to do something that is not something that any AI bro or whatever can take away from me, because it's community oriented, and that's every backer has to tell me one word. I have to use it in the lyrics of the album somewhere, and I have to still make good songs. So that's going to be the real twist. I mean, anyone could make a song that's just a bunch of random shit, and at some point I say Zizzy Baluba in the middle of it. But if people will give me these words and I've got to find a way to make a song, and nobody knows that, My God, I don't want to give anyone any ideas, right? Effervescence.
There you go.
Effervescence is in the song because someone made me put it there, and they're like, well, that fit right in. But by the time I have 100 words, what kind of corners am I going to have to back myself into? I don't know. And for just a couple bucks, you can constrain and further torture the box I'm stuck in, so that I got to figure out oh, you're going to make me say beef Wellington, and thank God someone else made me say platypus. So we are making a weird meal in this song. It's gonna, who knows?
Oh,
Bill, you have entirely too much faith in people. People has the current state of the world not taught you that people are generally a-holes?
Well,
they're going to try to destroy you, and they're going to pay you for the privilege.
There's a couple of ground rules. They're in the Kickstarter.
okay.
The first one is just the most important one is that it must be a word that the majority of people could at least recognize that it's a real word. For instance, if you were submitting a crossword puzzle and one of the answers was your word, people would be like, oh, very cool. And not yeah, I don't know what pogonophobia is. That one's fear of clowns, by the way.
Oh.
So I only know that because I looked it up as an example of don't be this. Don't people know generally what a tetrahedron is. They may not know what a 2,1 proethylphenylmethylamine organic compound is. So you can't do
Right.
that.
Okay.
And then the other one is just no hate stuff.
Oh,
It doesn't have to be clean. It can be raunchy. In today's world, are you going to tell me Bill, is it okay if I make you say vagina? Yes. Have you heard music recently? Are you familiar with this concept? It's okay. I can do it.
What's the rule on proper names if we want to give you Emil Durkheim?
He's sticking with the sociology. I like it. Yeah, there's a $5 upcharge for proper names. So it's
fascinating.
Very cheap and very easy. It just goes by syllables. $7 gets you 2 syllables. I think 16 is 3. 4 or more syllables is $25. Tack on 5 if you want to give me a proper noun of some kind. So if you want to,
there is a Welsh town.
Oh, don't.
No, that violates the first rule. First, you couldn't get it in a crossword anyway because you can't come up with something else that has 8 consecutive L's in it.
That's true.
There's some other examples too, though. With the proper nouns, it just gives a guideline. You can do things from media, but don't be so niche that if you're gonna do a Pokemon because you love Pokemon, be Pikachu or Charmander. Don't give me Binacle or the second. What
about Klefki? Can we do Klefki? Klefki is my favorite Pokemon.
Is Klefki an evolution or a pre-evolution of Clefairy?
I'm not familiar with this Pokemon.
Klefki is just a ring of keys. It's a ring of sentient keys.
Yes.
Is Klefki is that with a Klefki with a K or with a C?
Yeah.
Producer Lauren, can you get us Klefki, please? I need to know what a Pokemon that looks just like a ring of keys looks like.
It's just
You'll be surprised at how much it is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
God, okay. I'm looking forward to checking this out.
Save my pennies for Klefki.
Well, I mean, unsurprisingly, Bill has already fully funded this Kickstarter.
Awesome.
And I'm happy to report that Break the Business is, of course, among its backers. And so what we need to figure out, whether we're going to do it now or we take it offline, is we need to figure out what our word or words is going to be. And, I figure maybe the PhD among us in this group might have a cool word for us. But, I want to find something that is delightful, but is not going to just destroy our poor songwriter here.
No, if it follows the rules, I'm good with it. Just, if you're going to give me an arcane disease, do cholera or dysentery.
Yeah.
Don't do,
keep it to the Oregon Trail. Yeah.
Something I can't even think of. Hey, there we go. Klefki.
Boy, you weren't kidding. Klefki is just a
It's a ring of keys. I'm obsessed.
look.
I love.
I don't want to hate on Pokemon fans here, but I feel like after the first generation, they were just kind of phoning crap in at this
Oh
point.
yeah, no, my
There.
wife.
Just make it a ring of keys.
My wife just finished playing Pokemon Z to A, and they've got some in there. There's a Vanilla-ite, which is just an ice cream cone.
An ice cream cone.
There's
like that one.
Trubbish, which is a bag of trash. Trubbish actually very cute. They really like there's this one Scarby or something who's just like a little like sort of gremlin, but he's got really baggy pants that he holds up while he walks around. And I'm like, that's weird, but you had Jinx.
So the
in
next
first one.
Kickstarter, we're gonna have 151 songs. At least.
Oh yeah.
I love
First
this.
gen
There's a
Pokemon.
couple of those I want to skip. Don't make me do a track about Mr. Mime.
Oh gosh.
What's
Actually,
there's a Pokemon just
John
named
Cage
Mr.
it.
Mime?
Just,
Well, it's
just
one of the
John
first
Cage it. It's just
150.
silent.
Yeah, you're right. I can't make any sound. I have to.
It'd be like a John Cage track.
Yeah. Mr. Mime.
All right, so we got to come up with some words like
Yes.
and we'll send them to Bill because I'm excited to see what I'm sure will be another artistic triumph. And let me ask you this, Bill. As somebody who has made multiple albums at this point, and it looks like another banger of yours is on the way here. Continuing off our discussion that Elisa and I were having in the prior segment, what do you think of the story that we brought up where somebody did a statistical analysis basically contending that for most artists, they tend to peak with the first album? This blogger looked at Metacritic reviews of artists and found that generally on average, artists tend to get their best reviews on their first record, and every other record kind of falls down a little bit after that. Do you think there's some truth to that? Do you think there's some confounding variables like Elisa thought?
I heard you saying that maybe it's because labels hang people out to dry after the first one.
I love that hypothesis, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah, as Ryan would have us all checking under our bed for like an evil record label before you tuck in at night, which is not that far off from the truth. Well, I've been thinking about it actually, and I did some work while I was behind the scenes, and I am here to announce that I am no longer Down Upright. I am now Admiral Sexpot and their Dingus Brigade. And this upcoming album will be my first and debut album.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Admiral Sexpot and the Dingus
see.
Brigade. And now, hopefully, you all give it very high reviews.
and that'll
knowing
boost the
my-
Metacritic reviews.
Yeah, exactly. And
It's just statistics.
I'm Admiral Sexpot. Behind me, I guess we have the Dingus Brigade. I don't know. That's kind of more of a name for a multi-person group, I think.
Oh, but that makes it even funnier. Kind of like how Ben Folds 5 is just 3 people. Like,
Maybe
Oh, yeah.
we're the Dingus Brigade. The fans are the Dingus Brigade.
Yeah, well,
I like
with my
this.
Kickstarters, kind of. I don't know what else to tell you.
Oh, my favorite thing about your work though is as a lyricist, as a singer-songwriter, I love that you basically take things that maybe somebody might glance over as sort of like, oh, this might be like a cool like writer's block eliminating creative exercise that I might, do, but you take it all the way to and make it just an actual art piece. And it's weird because one would think that there's so many limits that you put on yourself on all of these projects. But I personally love working with you because I also kind of like operating like within constraint. In that way, it helps kind of focus the work. Do you find that to be the case?
Yes. It's like I've come far enough in my career. I've hit my 10,000 hours. Not that it has equated with international stardom, although sometimes on calls when I'm joking, I like to refer to myself as an internationally recognized musician because
Legit.
I was once recognized while walking down the street in Toronto. So- but that's like still within 90 minutes of my house because I'm a Buffalonian. No, like I have done enough different things that I kind of have the terror of choice. I open Ableton every day, and it's like, depending on what I want to do, I could make a beat for a hip hop friend, or I could try to make a deep house track today and see if I can playlist it. But I need rules, or else every day it's like, you get gifted child syndrome. Not that I'm a gifted child, but that old joke that's like, what's your Halloween costume? I'm a gifted child. You're not anything. Be like, I could have been anything.
I could have been anything.
I've never
So
heard
that's
that one
that's
before.
that joke in musical form. So I have to have these kinds of things. And truth is I only have like my next 4 releases planned, and I didn't have a 5th thing. And I'm like, well, if I start this Kickstarter now, by the time it's done, I'll have the responses back, and I'll have some great fun with my 5th thing. Which I also know sounds crazy, but I'm crazy. It's the only thing I do.
How fast is the turnaround for something like this? When you get all your words in, how long do you think it's going to take you to get this album done?
That really depends on how many words there are and if the muse is with me. Because like We're Doomed, We're Dancing, I did about 30 of the tracks in the first 3 or 4 months, and then the muse left, and I had difficult times at home and all different kinds of things going on with my life, and then the muse came back, and I finished the other 30 tracks in the last like 2.5 months. So it depends. If people give me all 100 words, if I fill all 100 slots, that's going to have to be a full-length album for sure, with a lot of weird cramming multiple words into songs they may not go together. That might take me closer to 5 or 6 months. Well, and it's also, I have my merry band of misfits, of which Elisa is hopefully proud to be a member, as well as Evan. Or now not my merry band of misfits, but my Dingus Brigade. Under my new artist name. But the same, 24 people who keep recurring on every album. Some of them work fast, some of them work slow. Who I use depends on what's right for the album. So like, if I don't, if somebody winds up submitting, an explicit word or whatever, and it's not something that I'm that comfortable with saying, I'll go get Rocks Nice for that track. I won't be getting Keep Up Radio for that track, right? There's different tracks for different people. Elisa, you can always like force yourself onto the album by submitting a word that's like crimson. And I'm like, I gotta use the word crimson somewhere in this episode. Nah, for real. It should be a good time. And I look back at, We're Doomed, We're Dancing, 60 songs, 60 apocalypses. And it's just that if I hadn't had the audience involvement, I probably would have gone rock, pop, jazz, punk, and like would not have had They Might Be Giants pastiche style song complete with accordions and Casios, would not have had to sandwich it between a black metal track and a all auto-tune track, would not have had to have a like Phil Oakes tribute track next to a bossa nova track. It was only because of the fans. And Ryan in particular told me to do the Eurodance song, which is like,
I did.
I went in the tank on Eurodance for like 2 weeks, studied it all, and I split up the minute into about 30 seconds of Aqua, followed by 30 seconds of Scooter. Did my best Scooter impression. Yeah.
So
Very
good.
big beats. Anyway, you could find it. I know people who are listening to this on syndication can't hear a URL. The short URL is tinyurl.com/don't-put-words.
Okay.
tinyurl.com
tinyurl.com/put-words. Don't-put-words. Very, very cool. And I love that, Bill, you acknowledge that not only do these Kickstarters allow your fans to be able to engage with your music more, but that these this fan engagement also raises your artistic level. You create better works through the fan engagement than you would have done on your own. I think that's really, really cool. What a great innovation that we get through crowdfunding. I strongly encourage our viewers and listeners to support this particular campaign, particularly because, you know, the price of entry is so low to get involved in something like this, and what a very small contribution to be part of musical immortality. Bill, always a treat when we have you on. We can't have you on enough. Before we let you go, we got one last question. As always, do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Yes. This time though, it's a don't, not a do. This has been hard for me to swallow because I have, in the later half of my life, thrived as producer who makes tracks to be put onto streaming where people listen to them. Now, I will never make as much money as I did between 2010 and 2015, which were iTunes downloads eras, right? But even in the streaming era, since then, I've been a little bit like only making a little money, but very much like it's still worth it just to be heard and just to connect with fans. The bad news is with the Ouroboros tail fully eating itself with slop on both sides, bot listeners posting about and maximizing and amplifying AI generated tracks, taking all, not just the money, but the buzz and the attention out of the algorithms at the same time. It is no longer a very effective way to, well, at least I'm getting heard. And that's been difficult for me to come to terms with because I had really become quite good at, like, I know how to make albums for digital distribution. I think this is a good time if you're an indie creator and just releasing music was going to be your thing. I'd say stop, at least for now. To wait for this situation to sort itself out, or be at the vanguard of taking things back down to the community level. Whatever happens next is going to be community oriented. It's going to be about metro areas and friendships and bars and clubs and communities of associates who do and don't work together. And it will be something that happens far away from the eye of Sauron. It will happen. No algorithm will come to save you. Google will not write you a check. TikTok will not write you a check. Spotify won't know about it. Mark Zuckerberg will blissfully never know who you are. That's going to be where true joy comes from in the future, and I'm still trying to rediscover that.
Let's bring people together, get a little collective effervescence going. Our thanks to Bill Down Upright Bolden and Elisa Rockdock. Thanks to producer Lauren. And of course, our thanks to all of our viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We will see you next week.